Incident management. This is the next practice we're going to talk about, and again, it's one that you need to know in depth for the exam. The purpose of incident management is to minimize the negative impact of incidents by restoring normal service operation as quickly as possible. Basically, what are you going to do when something goes wrong? Now, I mentioned there's a couple of terms you have to memorize, and here comes our second term. It's an incident. An incident is an unplanned interruption to a service or reduction in the quality of a service. Every incident needs to be logged, managed to the agreed upon target resolution times, and prioritized. The way we design our incident management practice appropriately is going to make sure that we think about it from different perspectives with different incidents. So I want to take my incidents and I want to categorize them based on the different impacts they have. Is it a major incident or a minor incident? Is it an information security incident or is it a management and operations incident? All of these are things that we have to think about as we're going through our incident management practice. Now, when it comes to prioritizing our incidents, I like to do it based on an agreed classification. Everyone should know what that classification is. Are we going to use high, medium, and low? Are we going to use a 1 through 5 system? Whatever it is, you need to know it, your customers need to know it, and everyone who supports the systems needs to know it. Also, we should have a way to say what would categorize a high incident, what would categorize a low incident. Is it based on dollar time? Is it based on the person's position in the company? Is it going to be based on how much the thing costs? Is it going to be based on how long we think it's going to be down? All of those are valid ways to classify it. It really depends on how your organization decides to do it. Also, when you're prioritizing incidents, you need to ensure that your incidents that have the highest business impact are resolved first. That means if it's something that's affecting 5 users or something that's affecting 10,000 users, we probably want to fix the thing affecting 10,000 users first. It has a higher business impact. Or if it's something that may be a minor inconvenience versus something that's costing you money, you want to get the thing that costs you money fixed first. Now, when it comes to incident management, you want to use a tool to log and manage your incidents. This is a way that you can end up linking them to configuration items, to the different changes, to the different problems, known errors, and other things. By having a good system, it really does make the knowledge management piece a lot easier and helps you resolve incidents much faster. Another thing these can do for you is they can provide incident matching to other incidents, other problems, and other known errors. So for example, if you call up and tell me, hey, the wireless network in the warehouse is down, I can log that and it can say, oh, we've already had 3 other people call that in. We know it's a problem affecting a lot of users. We should probably raise the classification from a low to a medium or a medium to a high. Again, this is the benefit of having a good incident management tool. Incidents can also be escalated for higher levels of support. Oftentimes, your service desk, who's your first person who's taking in the incident, isn't going to be the person who's going to resolve it. Instead, if they can't solve it at their level, they'll raise it to Tier 2 support. And if Tier 2 can't do it, it'll go to Tier 3 support. And you'll keep going up until you get to the right level of support to get that resolved. This routing is typically going to be based on the incidents category. Anyone working on an incident should provide quality and timely updates back into this incident management system, because as we're going to talk about in the service desk, your service desk analyst is the front line. They're going to be the ones talking to the customer. And when the customer says, hey, is my ticket resolved yet? They need to know about it. If you've been working it and you haven't been putting it in the incident management system, the analyst doesn't know the updates and the customer doesn't get the communication. Now, when we talk about incident management, I want you to remember that incident management requires a high level of collaboration within and between the teams. Like I was saying, if you're solving the issue, you need to tell that to the service desk. You also need to work between your teams and across your teams. When we're working to diagnose and resolve an incident, your user might end up using a self-help option. They might use calling the service desk as an option. The service desk might contact your support team, your suppliers, or even your partners. All of this is collaboration and communication. So we have to think about all of this as we work through it. And the other thing I want you to remember is that some incidents can be very major and some can be minor. If you have a really major incident, one of the things you might want to do is create a temporary cross-functional team to address that incident. For example, maybe our website went down. Well, I might want to get some people from finance in here because it's going to affect them, some people from marketing because it affects them, some people from sales because it affects them, and then of course all of our technical people. So we can figure out how we can create a workaround and get this incident resolved as quickly as possible. In addition to all of that, you may be doing an incident response based on a disaster recovery operation. And if this is the case, you want to bring in the disaster recovery team as well, because they know the plans and policies of what we're going to do to overcome that disaster. All of this is going to depend on your particular scenario that you're involved with in your incident. Let me give you an example. Maybe your organization is the victim of a cyber attack or a data breach that's ongoing. What's the best way to handle this scenario? Well, if it was me and my company, I might use a technique known as swarming. This involves gathering up different stakeholders who initially all work together until it becomes clear which of them is best suited to lead this effort and solve the incident. Once that occurs, we can then release the others back to their assigned tasks, and the lead will take the charge of this. Now, the reason we do this is because it gives us all of the people right away, and this is really important when you're dealing with a major incident like a cyber attack or a data breach. I might not know exactly where that person is inside the network yet. Are they dealing with the databases, the file servers, the web servers? I don't know. So I want people from all of those teams here working with me. That's what we call swarming. And then once we figure out, oh, it was a database breach, then we can let the web guys go and the file server guys go, and we'll still work with the database team. That's the way we want to do this kind of stuff. It's the way that we're trying to figure out how we can best solve our incidents. When we think about incidents, I want you to think about the fact that it heavily relies on collaboration to facilitate information sharing and learning, as well as helping to solve the incident more efficiently and more effectively. That's what we're trying to do. So when we think about this through our value chain activity lens, which ones are going to be affected? Well, let's start with improve. When we're talking about improve, we're going to be thinking about the incident records in our incident management system. These are a key input to our improve activities. If we can go in there and find the frequency and severity of different incidents, we can figure out where we need to put more resources, time, or money to improve ourselves. Now, if we consider this from the engage activity, we have to think about the fact that incidents are visible to everyone. Your users are going to know about it, and your customers are going to know about it. So we're going to have to engage with them and let them know ahead of time how we're solving these problems and the fact that we know that it's a problem and that we're going to overcome it. When we think about this from design and transition, if we have an incident, it might occur in a test environment, which happens during design. It might also happen during the release and deployment, which is part of transition. Either way, we want to make sure the incident management practice is there to help us ensure the incidents are resolved in a timely and controlled manner. When we think about this from an obtain build perspective, we want to think about the fact that incidents occur in development environments too, right? And so as I'm obtaining and building things, things break. How are we going to solve those problems? The incident management practice has things in place to help us with those as well, because we want to make sure we're figuring those things out early before we move it into transition, and then from transition over to deliver and support. Which brings us to deliver and support. Deliver and support is where we spend a lot of time in incident management, because this is a significant contributor to supporting our users. Deliver and support's value chain activity includes the resolving of incidents and problems, identifying them, solving them, and communicating that back to the user. Again, that goes back into our engage again. So, as we were talking, all of this is really important inside incident management. How do we identify, diagnose, and solve all these problems as quickly and efficiently as possible? That's what it all comes down to.